Yisrael Kulam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar rabbanan mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. A Kibbutz Torah on Dvarim, Shabbat Hazan, Chazon, and Tisha B'Av. Today, Saturday, August 6th, is Tisha B'Av, which literally means 9th of Av. Fast days, except for Yom Kippur, never fall on Shabbat. If they do, the observance is moved to the next day. The joyousness of Shabbat is not superseded by sorrow. Not even preparations for Tisha B'Av are permitted on Shabbat, unless you don't count, that is, if you don't count the fact that Idel will be chanting the Haftorah in Echamod. Not even preparations for Tisha B'Av are permitted on Shabbat. However, the meal at the conclusion of Shabbat, known as the Seder Shlishi, must be concluded before sundown. Today we also begin reading the book of Dvarim and conclude with the third and final Haftarah of Retribution. Because of the unique way in which the book of Dvarim was transcribed, generated by the mind of Moses, it acts as a bridge between the written Torah and the oral Torah. The written Torah speaks with the voice of authority and transcendence. The oral Torah, on the other hand, is a continuing dialogue of constant growth, analysis, and application. The oral Torah goes back to and forth in discussions and conclusions, adapting to situations as they arise. But while the written Torah takes the masculine form in speaking to us from above, the oral Torah takes the feminine approach in speaking through us. Only the second aspect of the Torah, the feminine oral Torah, involves our participation as it emerges and develops through time. The Talmud states that 10 measures of speech were given to the world, and 9 of them were allocated to women. Some would see this as a statement as praiseworthy to women, others as derogatory to the more talkative gender. In truth, it simply teaches the feminine power of expression, dialogue, and communication. And that is all from 10 Measures of Speech on the Feminine Aspect of Torah by Chana Weisberg. Continuing with Kaddish Rabbanan, page 154. Mourners will please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayichon v'yomechon v'chay d'kol Beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya, yitparak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei d'kudsha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amira v'alma v'imru, Amen. Al Yisrael, v'al Rabbanan, v'al Tamidehon, v'al kol Tamidehon, v'al kol madi oskim v'oraita, di v'yatra hadein v'di v'kol atar v'atar, yehi l'chon u'l'chon shalom al-rabba, china v'chista v'rachamin, V'chayin arrikin umsanervike umforchana mikadam v'hont v'shamaya v'yatra v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim tovim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom v'imru mav hu barakamav yasei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Now rise for Sukkot Zimra, page 180. Did I do a psalm for? Take it back. Let's go to 168, Psalm for Shabbat. Tov l'hadot l'Adonai l'deka elyon. Le'olam Adonai ki ha'neva, Adonai ki ha'neva. Taznai tzadikata ha'mahayifrak ke'eretz bavanun yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yavrihu odinu hogum b'seva Tishenim deranim yihu lehagid ki yashar Adonai zori velo avlatabo. Now rise. Sukkot Zimra, page 180. Baruch Shemar v'kaya ha'olam Baruch Hu. Baruch Ozer Bereshit, Baruch Omer v'Yoseh, Baruch Ozer v'Mechayim, Baruch Merakem ha'aretz, Baruch Merakem al ha'briot, Baruch Mishalem zakatov levreiha, Baruch Hailad v'Chayam lanetzach, Baruch Podeu Matzil, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Atah Adonai. Eloheinu melech haolam ha'el ha'av-rachman hamulal b'viyahamo mishubach u'mefohar mishubach u'mefohar l'shon hasidah v'avadav shirei David avdecha melech Adonai Eloheinu b'shvachot u'b'zmihirot b'shvachot u'b'zmihirot negadel kan mishperkecha u'nfayircha V'nazker simcha v'ramlechecha mahalkeinu Eloheinu yachid pei ha'olamim melech mishubach u'mefohar hadei ha'shemo hagadol Baruch atah Adonai melech mehulav v'tishbachot. Continuing on page 190 with our Gabbai friend, Ashrei.
Ashrei Oshrei Beitecha Oyev Alucha Selah. Tehilat LeDavid Aramim HaElohai HaMelech V'Abracha Shimcha LeOlam Va'ed. Gadol Adonai Umhulal Ma'od V'Lihudo Ein Cheker. Dar kavod hodecha v'nifrelotecha asicha. Zecher rabtucha yaviu v'zitocha yeranenu. Tov Adonai la'akol v'rachamav kol ma'asav. Kavod malchucha yomeru, uvratacha yedaberu. Malchucha malchucha olamim, amamshaltacha b'chol dor v'ador. Enecha elecha yisaberu, v'ata oten lecha mitlam ito. Tzadik Adonai bechol derachav, v'chassid b'chol ma'asav. Ritzon re'av ya'aseh, v'et shavatam yishma v'yoshi'em. Tehilat Adonai yedaber pi, v'orech kabasar shem kodsho la'olam va'ed. V'anachnu nevarech Yah, le'etav Adolam, hallelujah.
Shaphat, hallelujah, 194. Kol neshama te hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol neshama te hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, bekodsho, hallelujah, berkiyahuzo, hallelujah, benivorotav, hallelujah, kirov gudlo, kol haneshama te hallelujah, hallelujah, kol haneshama te hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, beteka shofar, Hallelujah, beniver vechino. Hallelujah, betofu mako. Hallelujah, benim behugav. Kol nishama te hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kol nishama te hallelujah. 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 Betil tele shama. Hallelujah. Betil tele trua. Kol nishama te hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kol neshama te hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kol neshama te hallelujah. Hallelujah. Following page 196. Nishmat kol chai dibereket shem kadonai Eloheinu v'rucho basarhim. Melech ala'ata milach mishmalach mirak lahak el agadol hagibor v'hanora el yon konei shemayim v'haaretz nehalel chon sheberechecha u'perecha unvarek et shem kodshecha chamor leDavid barakina v'siyat Adonai b'kol kerovai et shem kodshecha.
Continue with our service, page 218. Shochenar maro v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranenu tzadiki baronai lasharim nava tehillah v'fi yesharim titala u'divrei tzadikim titbarach ובלשון החסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש. ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יפאה שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור, שכן חובה כל היצורים לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירו ותשבחות, תביא בית ישי עבדך משיחך. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. כי לך נאה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, שיר ושבחה, הלל וזמרה, עוז וממשלה נצח, גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת, קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלוהי העולמים. 220. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בימת תברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחייך ובית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עולמים. יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמר קודשה ברכו לעילה מן כה ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן מימיו ואמרו אמן. invited to rise as we turn to page 224, the Baruch Hu. Page, as we're seated, 226. Hakol yoducha v'hakol yeshabechucha v'hakol yomru en kadosh kadonai. Thank Adonai Eloheinu ba'olam hazeh ve'ein zolata chamalkeinu lechayei ha'olam haba efes botecha go'aleinu limot ha'mashiach ve'ein melech ha'oshienu litchiyat ha'metim. El Adon 228. El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim baruch u'barach b'fi kol neshama gano v'tuvo malei olam da'at u'vonasa v'vimoto hamika achayot ha'kodesh neder v'chavod al ha'merkava zechut u'mishor livnei chiso Chesed v'rachamim lifnei chevodo tovim ve'arot shebara Eloheinu yitzhara b'dah b'bina u'chaskel koach u'gvura natan bahem lihiyom Moshe limekerev tehever meleim ziv u'fikim noga nazibam bechol ha'olam Zemechim petzetam, mesasim bevoam, osim b'yem aretzon kohonam, ve'er v'chavod nodnim lishmo, tzahal averina lezecher malchuto, kara l'shemesh v'yizrachor, ra ve'ekin sulat havana, sheva nonim lo, gotzva marom, Tiferet ogdola serafim ve'ofanim v'chayat hakodesh. Continuing on 230. תתברך מושיענו השבח מעשה ידיך והמאורי אור שעשית יפארו חסלה. Page 234, we continue.
at the top. Barach Tzorenu Malkeinu V'Aleinu B'Dei Kedoshim Yishma Shimcha Le'Yod Malkeinu. וכל הפוחים בפיהם בקדושה ובטהרה בשירה ובזמרה וברכם ומשבחים ופארים ומעריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול הגיבור והנורא קדוש הוא וכולם מקבלים עליכם ומלכות שמיים זה מזה ונותרים רשות זה לזה להקדיש רצונם בנחת רוח בשפה ברורה ובנימה כראשה כולם כאחד עונים אומרים מהירה קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו והאופנים וחיות הקודש ברעש גדול מן השאים לעומת שרפים לעומתם שבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. Top of page 236, La'el Baruch Ne'emah. Or Chadash Ad Zion Ta'ir, 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 V'nizkeh Holod U'Meiro Le'oro, V'nizkeh Holod U'Meiro Le'oro, Baruch Atah Adonai Yotzei Me'orot. 238, Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah Avtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chelokenu lo b'tera Chamalta aleinu Avinu Malkeinu Ba'avur avotenu Shebachu Becha Avinu Malkeinu V'ad lamdecho kechayim Ken tehonenu utlamdenu Avinu Rachaman Amrachem Rachem Aleinu V'ten belibenu lehavinu Askil lishmo lilmod ulamed Lishmor ve'lasot U'kayem kol divrei Talmud Toratecha v'yava V'ha'ernenu b'toratecha V'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha V'yachel lebavenu le'yahava Kol era shemecha V'lo nevosh le'olavad V'lo nevosh le'olavad Ki v'shem kodshecha Hagadol v'hanora Hagadol v'hanora V'atachnu Nagila v'nismecha Nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha. As we turn to 240, we gather our four tzitzit of our talit, symbolizing that one day all the Jewish peoples of the world come together in our beloved Israel, hopefully with respect and admiration for one another. V'havienu l'shalom me'or בכפות הארץ, לתולכנו קוממיות, קוממיות לארצנו, כי יבוא ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל הבלשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, להודות לך, אויחיך, אויחיך באהבה, ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מעשיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Continue quietly while still holding on to our seat on 244. We continue on 246, together, Vayomer. Vayomer Adonai Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael, ve'amarta alehem, ve'asu lahem tzitzit, ha'kamfei biktehem ledorotam, ve'natenu al tzitzit, הכנפת התכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם מכל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, וייתן קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem, Amen. It's 248. לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים, וחיסון נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. דברה בחיים. אמת שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, אלוהי אבותינו, מלכנו מלך אבותינו, גואלנו, גואל אבותינו, יוצרנו צור ישועתנו, פודנו ומצילנו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך. Page 250. מה שדי איש אישה שישמע למצוותיך ותורתך ורבך ועשימה לבא. ונתנו ידי דין ושירה ותשמחה ברכות והודאות למלכה וקיים וניסה ותגבר Continue on page 252. Zehilal yom anuhu varach Moshe ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך בעלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בהקודש נורות עילות אוסף אל נורות עילות אוסף אל שיר החדש שבחוג העולים לשמך שפת הים יחגו לעוד וימלכו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל עובדך ונומך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני ועל ישראל. We join together this morning for Shacharit Amidah, page 255. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanara Hallelujah Kubil Chasadi Tovi ve'Koreh HaKol ve'Zocher Chastei Avot U'mebie Geula Libnei V'neiam Le'ma'an Shemo ve'Ahava Melech Oser Moshiach Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחלקה חיי בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בשנה עפר וכמוך בעל כבודות ומדומלו mechayeh, O Matzliach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata le'achayo metim baruch ata Adonai, mechayeh hametim. Kedusha 256. Nekatev shechiko ba'olam Keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom Kakatov Aya neviecha Hekarase else v'amar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melocho haaretz kevoto. Az v'korash gadol, adir v'chazak, mashmin kol, minoseim le'yom ha'terafim, le'yom ha'tam, baruch yomeru, baruch kevod Adonai mimekomo, mimekocha malkeinu tofia, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, וקרוב בימינו לעולם ותשכון תתקדש ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים ועינינו תראנה מהותך כנחל המור בשירי עוזך היתד דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור נגיגו לך לדור ודור נגיגו לך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד כי המלך גדול וקדוש גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני Continue in our personal prayers, whether that's the English, the Hebrew, or your own meditations from pages 258 to 266. conclude our Amidah. Haley and Ariel lead us in Ose Shalom.
Ose Shalom Bimroma Uya Ase Shalom Aleinu Ve'yakol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Ose Shalom Bimroma Uya Ase Shalom Aleinu Ve'akol Yisrael V'imru Amen.
Wow. Well, I don't know of a sweeter sound this morning than those two. Thank you, ladies. We'll conclude our Shachri portion of our service this morning with Kaddish Shalem 268. יתכתב ויתקדש שמי רבם, בימיו יברך עדותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מברך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיים. יפרח וישתבח ויפר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה ברכו ואלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן מימיו ויאמרו אמן. תתקבל סלודכון ובאותכון תכל ישראל קודם אבוכון וישמעיה ויאמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו או יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו I'd like to call back to the Bima Ariel, who's going to be helping us introduce the Torah Service. We can find the Torah Service on page 312.
אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך. מלכותך מלכות כל עמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך עולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו לשלום. אברהם היטיב ורצון את ציון. תבנה המות ירושלים. תבנה המות ירושלים. כי בך לבד בתנו מלך אל רם וניצה אדון עולמים.
Yeah.
Ve'yanusu
over your people Israel. May it be your will to open our hearts to your Torah, and to fulfill the worthy desires of our hearts and of the hearts of all your people Israel, for good, for life, and for peace. Amen.
Amen.
Let's turn to page 332 as we read in English together with prayer for our country. Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask your blessings upon our country and upon the leaders of our nation and our communities. Inspire all who lead and serve to conduct their affairs honorably. May peace and security, happiness, prosperity, right, freedom, abide amongst us. Unite the inhabitants of our country of all backgrounds and creeds, so that we may banish hatred and bigotry, safeguard our nobles ideals, and preserve those institutions which nurture liberty. May this land under your providence be an influence of good throughout the world, help to unite all peoples in peace and freedom, and bring closer to fulfillment the visions of your providence. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. For the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness calm and confidence forever. Amen.
בשמיים ובארץ, פיכו בשמיים ובארץ. אדוני הממלכה, ויריד תעשה לכל ראש. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, וישבחו להדום רגליו קדוש הוא. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, וישבחו להר קודשו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. We may be seated. Yasher Koach to Ariel and to Haley. Very nice job. Very nice job. So it is my honor to call up Sunny to be able to lead us in, no doubt, will be a wonderful and thought-provoking Devar Torah. Let me snag this real quick.
So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I've said it to most of you already. Well, when the rabbi mentioned my doing a Devar this year, I said, sure. And I didn't ask which parasha it was going to be. I asked what dates it was going to be. I chose this date. I had a choice because it was the closest to my son's birthday. So I am doing this in his honor and in his memory. So, crying around. So this is the beginning of the 5th book. It is called, we know it by Devarim, Deuteronomy. It's called also Mishnah Torah, the repetition of the Torah. And another name is Eleh HaDevarim. These are the words from the opening phrase. This has been abbreviated to Devarim, which means words or discourse. The Greek-speaking Jews translated this name to Deuteronomian, meaning second law. And this name was taken over by the Latin Bible and then the English version. Well, we at Ohev Shalom are acquainted with Gematria. So when I learned this, when I read about this one, I just had to include it. Eleh, the first word, meaning these, is spelled Aleph Lamed Hey. The numerical value, anybody? 36. 36. And tradition has it that the world is sustained by 36 righteous persons. Used to be righteous men. Anyhow, they're called the Lamed Vavniks, 30 and 6. Also numerical value the same. And Eleh HaDevarim, these two words from this book, the beginning of this book, are what supposedly sustain the whole rest of the Torah. So way back, when I started Hebrew school, September 1947, we were taught to read Ashkenazic style with that pronunciation. The end of that school year, May 1948, significant date in our memories, many of our memories, we relearned, we were told we were going to relearn so that we would be reading the same as the Israelis. We were going to relearn the Sephardi. So if you have the book of Devarim opened in front of you, and you have that, you don't need to at this point, but you would see in the word Devarim, there is the comments, the vowel that looks like the little T. I learned it awe. Of course, I was in Connecticut, so we said awe more than we say it probably around here. All right, then the following year, in September, we relearned it as ah. I had been Sarah, now I became Sarah. Okay. So it also has in it the same consonants can be used with a different vowel. Basically, it can be read and written with a cholam chasar, actually. A cholam I learned as an O, and we more or less read it as the aw now, sometimes O. Anyway, the cholam is the vav with the dot, but in this word, it loses the vav part. The cholam loses the vav and is just left with the dot up top. And that means not words, it means bees, as in honeybees or buzzing bees or stinging bees. And that is why I mention that, is because that word does appear later in this parasha, devouring, as bees. And just as bees' honey is sweet, but its sting is painful and sharp, so sometimes are the words of Torah. Moses' criticisms are like the sting of bees, which can definitely be painful, but the stinging hurts the bees a lot more than it hurts most people because it causes their death. So anyway, the book of Devarim commences 40 years after the Israelites have left Egypt. In the first 4 books, the words came from God primarily. Not so much in this book. The familiar expression, "And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Vayadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor," is replaced with, "These are the words which Moses spoke to all Israel. Ele hadvarim, asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael." Thus, Moses was the speaker. Moses chose the words. Moses conveyed the command. I hope my voice lasts. Conveyed the commands as he understood them. In this sense, as Jan mentioned earlier, Deuteronomy began as the oral law, conveyed by Moses. Later, it was inscribed into the words of the Torah, and it became part of the written Torah. And because of this, Moses is called Rabbeinu, our teacher, for he not only transmitted God's words, he explained them. So the oral tradition that accompanied the Torah enabled that the teachings be continually applied in fresh and dynamic ways. The rabbis of each generation receive the oral traditions and then decide how to implement them in their contemporary settings. New applications are continually found. Parts of the oral tradition that were no longer considered essential or relevant to the new generations would gradually be forgotten. I became a bat mitzvah when I was 12. Was not allowed to read any part of the Tanakh. I was not allowed to come on the bima. There was another bima, a sub-bima, put up against the bima, which we stood on. Thank God that's changed. And this part of happened because maybe what was written and the way it was written in Devarim. So this process continued of new applications and the new commentaries for over 1,500 years until approximately 200 CE. Rabbi Judah HaNasi made the historic decision that the oral tradition be codified, and that would become known as Mishnah, which would unify Jewish law. So Moses chose his style, he chose his words, he recounted incidents that occurred during the 40 years in the wilderness, but he changed the way they were originally presented in the preceding books. He interpreted them in the light of what the people needed to hear at this point in their history. Now, Moses was demonstrating to the people that during the first 4 books of the Torah, God began a process that had to be continued by the Israelites. Moses, responsible for the transmission of the Torah, was now ensuring its continued development and its significance to them, hence the repetition. Moses interpreted, thus paving the way for fresh interpretations, deeper explorations. It introduced that possibility of change, even within a fixed and eternal document. Last week's discussion, thank you, Idel, She spoke of a new translation, the contemporary Torah, which is gender neutral. Thus, Deuteronomy, which may appear to be nothing more than a repetitive exhortation to obey God's law, actually raises issues that both reflect and inform on the concerns of each generation. We are told that Moses addressed Kol Yisrael, all Israel. How could he address all these people, this multitude? What's the traditional view? It was a miracle. It was a miracle. One of God's miracles. Okay. Another commentator notes that the words Kol Yisrael occurred again, but referred specifically to Joshua, the elders or judges, and the priests, all of whom had the responsibility of representing the people. The mantle of leadership would soon be passed to Joshua. The battles to conquer the land would begin, and this required a different kind of leadership. Moses prefaced his Devarim, his words, by reviewing the history of the Israelites. He retold it. He told about the problems, the battles, the dissatisfactions, the complaints, the disobedience of God's commands, all of them due to lack of faith in God. Moses included his own role, especially his inability to enter the promised land. He was one of those whole generation that was dead. He was pretty much the only one left. And despite all the stuff, all the good stuff that he did according to God's instructions, he bore that sting of God's displeasure. So the Jewish people were in transition to a scary new reality. They must now continue to develop what they had already received. Moses emphasized the importance of history of Israel's experience with God as the basis for the religion. So he retold, amongst other things, the story of the 12 spies, 10 of whom did not have faith to trust God's promise. If you want, you can turn to page 987, and I would like someone to read this.
Sonny, could you speak up a little?
Page 987 in your Chumash, verses 29, starting. If you would give me a break from my speaking. 987, verse 29. Thank you.
I said to you, have no dread or fear of them. None other than the Lord your God, who goes before you, will fight for you, just as he did for you in Egypt before your very eyes. And in the wilderness you saw the Lord your God carry you as a man carries his son. All the way that you traveled, you came to this place. Yet for all that, you have no faith in the Lord your God, who goes before you on your journey, to scout the place where you are to encamp, in fire by night and in cloud by day, in order to guide you or who you are to follow.
Thank you. Nobody had faith. The spies did not have faith in this promise that God had made, and the general population, the Israelite population, did not have faith. Only Caleb demonstrated that faith. He opposed the majority and insisted that Israel could overcome all these obstacles of taking the promised land if only they trusted God's word. Therefore, only 2 of that generation would be allowed to enter the promised land. Not 3, not Moses. Joshua was spared, not so much because of his faith, but because he had been the aid to Moses over time. He was the only one trained to lead the nation. Caleb was indeed rewarded. It says in verse 35, "He shall see it, and to him and his descendants will I give the land on which he sets foot, because he remained loyal to the Lord." We recall back in Exodus that Jethro had suggested that Moses choose judges to share his burden. And in Numbers, God told Moses to gather 70 elders to share his burden. And Moses understood with a new period, a new kind of leadership was required. Twice he had chosen judges. This time, he entrusted the selection of the judges to the people. He said back earlier in verse 9, "I cannot bear the burden of you by myself. You pick from each of your tribes men who are wise, discerning, and experienced, and I will appoint them as your heads." In the new era of the Promised Land, courts would have to be established, a government for a society that was pursuing justice and righteousness. Israel's welfare depended on maintaining a society governed by social and religious laws. They would have to develop a means to provide for and protect the needy and the helpless. They would need self-discipline to avoid the temptations of their pagan neighbors. The Torah's humanitarianism is developed with these concerns. The people are in a transition to a new reality. Beginning of chapter 2, there's a reference to Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds. In my several old Humashim, it's always translated as Red Sea. You don't see Sea of Reeds at all. Yam Suf seems to be in the north of Egypt, as it's talked about in Exodus. One of the commentators suggested it might have been a large lake. Here, the Israelites are going south towards the Gulf of Aqaba and the Red Sea, not back to Egypt. So it most probably referred to two distinctly different bodies of water. So throughout the Jewish sources, we have found the number 40. It denotes closing of one stage of development and marking the advent of another stage. I'm sure you can think of other significant examples of this besides the 40 years in the wilderness. Anybody want to share one or two of them? Another example of the 40 that's given, if not, I
40 days and 40 nights.
of
Noah.
of Noah, right? Of the flood coming down. I can't hear you. The soul. Oh, the soul. It takes 40 years for a soul to be to find the proper body. Does that say it? Something like that. Okay. How about how old was Abraham when he found God? There are two stories on that. One is that he was 40, and the other was that he was 3. Take which one over you like. Okay. What about how old was Isaac when Abraham decided that he needed a wife? 40. All right. How long was Moses on Mount Sinai? 40 days and nights. And I think he was also up there another 40 days and nights after. And Job, Elijah and Jonah fled to the desert for 40 days. There's something in Pirkei Avot. I'm almost done. Okay. I'm sorry. My voice has never carried. All right. The other thing I found was in Pirkei Avot, which in the 5th chapter sees each decade of life as possessing unique intellectual and emotional qualities. And according to it, the decade of the 40s reflects a time of understanding, often expressed through communal responsibility. And I think we have seen that in the development of the synagogue, that a lot of the people who take the responsibility are close to or in their 40s. And, right. That's a 3 times 40. We wish people life to 120 is what Arlene said. I found one that has nothing to do with scriptures. How many weeks of human gestation? 40 weeks. Not in my case, with my children, but that's that. And then there was another one in my lifetime that was very significant to Marvin and to me, when we decided that we were going to go to Israel with 40 kids for 40 days and 40 nights. We were the only American madrikim. There was one part-time Israeli woman with us and a soldier. And that transition for Marv and me, we both started to get gray. Anyhow, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I always enjoy your Divrei Torah. So this morning we are starting closer towards the end, but we are on page 994, chapter 2, verse 31. In just a moment, we'll get the Torah set up. And we'll begin our service, 994. I don't know what's going on now. It's very strange. Yes. Would love to have the Torah. As we're getting our Torah ready, I just want to preface our reader this morning messaged me at 9:50 saying they had an emergency and they are not able to come. So Del and I will do our very best to fulfill the mitzvah of hearing the Torah as correct as we possibly can. Yes.
We're beginning on page 994, verse 31.
Correct.
I didn't think I was going to read today. I was freaking out.
Very last line. Very last line on 994.
Yeah, but she's looking for it in the Torah.
Yeah.
I got it. You got it?
יעזור בגין בשל לפחת עושים בו בנמרה מהם, בתולדות להם ותנו כבוד לתורה. תעמוד ישראלה בת מרים, ובבוא הכהן. ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו, והייתם הדבקים בנעליהם חיים כולכם היום.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bar karbanu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai, Notei HaTorah.
Amen. Oh, and a glitter to top it off. Vayomer Adonai Elai, Re'ei hachaloti, tat lefanecha et sichon v'yerorto. Hachel resh l'reshet et orto, vayetze sichon libratenu, v'chol amo milchama yatsa. Vayitehu Adonai Eloheinu lefanenu v'nachoto v'et banav v'et kol amo v'nilkad et kol arav v'et hahu hahi v'necheram et kol irmitim v'hanashim v'hatav v'lo hisharnu sarid. I think that's it.
No, yeah.
Yeah?
That's it. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu et Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Notei HaTorah. Amen.
Ya'amod Yaakov ben Zev Sheni.
Baruch es Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Notei HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Rakabahim abazaznu lanu ushla ha'arim asher lachadnu mi'ar asher aspat nahar non v'ha'ir asher binachal v'ad hagilad lo hayita kirya asher shagva mimenu et hakol natan Adonai Eloheinu lefanenu Rakel haaretz b'nei Amon lo karavta kol yad nachal yabok v'yad arei hahar v'chol asher tiva Adonai Eloheinu that's rabbis, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Eloheinu.
Eloheinu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emes v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai Notei HaTorah.
Amen.
Ya'amod Harav Eliezer Nachum ben Ari Tzvi Miriam Shalishi.
Yasher Koach. Actually, sir, you can stay up here with us till the next Sally, yes? Unless you're comfortable with that. Oh, you have?
Oh, we have, yeah, since before the, remember we had a pandemic?
Yeah.
It's okay, it's fine with me.
Okay.
Right,
As
no,
long
I
as
mean,
he
it's
was
good, it's good with me. Okay. Can you just point out the page of the, Birkat HaGomel, because I'm going to be at Benji.
Oh, okay.
I have Rose here, got a lot of things going on here.
Page 332, you'll find the Birkat HaGomel.
And,
322.
oh, was close.
322.
Oh, there you go.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai vorach leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Amen. Vanefen vana'al derech habashan, vayetze og melech habashan likratenu, ובכל עמו למלחמה אדרעי, ויאמר אדוני אלי, אל תירא אותו, כי בידך נתתי אותו, וכל עמו וכל ארצו, ועשית לו כאשר עשית לסיחון מלך האמורי, אשר יושב בחשבון. ויתן אדוני אלוהינו בידינו, גם את אוג מלך הבשן, וכל עמו ונקהו, עד בלתי השאיר לא שריד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הגומל לחייבים טובות שגמלני כל טוב.
מי שגמר כל טוב, תמיד יגמר לך כל טוב סלע.
So some weeks ago, I sent an email to Cantor and Jan that today we were celebrating Rose's birthday, and all of us, I've been looking forward to this. Rose is with us, but at home, because Rose's family is visiting today. So what better way, Rose, to celebrate your birthday than with family, and not only, from what I understand, all through the day, different family is coming. So it's like an open house celebrating your birthday, but we're not going to pass up the opportunity to offer a gematria and a blessing. So first of all, the gematria, and you know, Rose, it's usually my custom not to mention the birthday number, but you were very clear about your number, and I'll just, it's in the ninth decade, and it's one number repeated twice. So you can do the math. Okay? How's that? And as Jan would say, it's to the what do you call it? It's base 16, right? So, okay, very good. So, Rose, the gematria, there's two gematrias that add up to your number, and I think they really come together as a team. One is chayechem, and one is kochachem, your life, your strength. And so may strength continue in your life, and may your life be filled with ongoing strength. And I've been thrilled, and I'm sure all others have as well, that we've seen a renewal and a resurgence, rejuvenation of your strength over these past months, no longer wearing the collar, but looking more and more like yourself. So during this next year, from beginning to end, may your strength remain strong and grow even stronger, and your life be filled with all good, wonderful, joyful, and happy things, Rose, everything that you deserve. And we hope to share it together with you. משברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב, שרה רבקה רחל ולאה, הוא יברך את רחל, בת שלום ומלכה, על חגיגת היום הולדת, 88 שלה, אנחנו מתפללים שהקדוש ברוך הוא יברך אותה בשלום ובריאות, ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיה, עם כל משפחתה, עם כל ישראל אחיה, ונאמר אמן.
יום הולדת שמח, יום הולדת שמח, יום הולדת שמח, יום הולדת שמח.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday,
Rose.
Rose.
Many happy returns.
We're continuing at the top of 996 with verse 4.
תעמוד צר לאבד, אחרון בן ציון בחנס פריצה רביעי. Mimi, would you come up and begin?
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai
Baruch Baruch Shemo.
Notein HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'nil kod et kol arav ba'et ahi lo hayta kriya asher lo lakachnu me'atam shishi me'ir kochevel argov. Yeah, sorry, I just lost my spot. Mamalachat, oh, Babashan, Kolele, Arim, Atzurot, Choma Gevoah, Delarim, Delatim, Uriach lavad me'arei haprazi harbe me'od v'nacharem otam ka'asher asinu lesichon melech habashan acharem kol ir matnetim hanashim והטף, וכל הבהמה, ושלח הערים, וזונו לנו.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Ata Adonai
Shemo.
Notein HaTorah.
We're going to pause now for a Misha Berach. Misha Berach allows us to pray with our hearts and healing for those who need it physically, mentally, spiritually. And there will be a pause in the prayer, and you're welcome to say the name out loud or to yourself at that moment. For those of us who we think of this time, it's tradition to rise. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב, שרה רבקה רחל ולאה, ויברך וירפאם. וכל החולים בקהילתנו, וישלח להם רפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, בתוך שאר חולי ישראל, שבאתי מלזעוק, ורפואה קרובה לבוא, Pashtaba agala ubizman kariv, venomar amen. Visheberach avoteinu, mekor abracha, leimoteinu, men of sorts of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Shemera imotenu, mekor abracha, lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Continuing, page 996, verse 8.
Also, I just mentioned before we continue reading the Torah that our dear Lee Sangster, Smith, and Phil, this past week, just the other day, and he got up, he was moving, and seemed to be fine, but the way he fell back and hit his head on the ground. So Lee wanted him to go to the hospital to just have him check out. So the check out, his head is fine, but something was with one of his vertebrae. So yesterday afternoon he was in surgery, and the same surgeon who operated him on in 2014 the operation, and said in 4 to 6 weeks it should be okay. So hopefully all is well. Keep him in our prayers. Head fine.
Oh, I got a call. Do you have my book under there somewhere?
I do. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Ta'amod Rivka bat Moshe Udabara Chamishi.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Toratav. Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo.
noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vanikach be'et hahi et haaretz miyad shnei malchei hamori asher ba'ever hayarden minachal Arnon ad har Harmon. Sidonim yakreu laharmon Sirion laemori Habashan lo yikreu lo shnir Kol arei hamishor vehol hagal Behol Hagil Ad Vehol Habashan Ad Salacha Ha'ed Ari Are Mamlechet Og Bahabashan Kirak Og Melech Habashan Nisar Meriete Hafaim, Hine Erso Eres Barzel, Halohi, Barabet B'nei Amon, Tesha Amot Arka, Ve'arba Amot, Harba Amati.
ונתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Baruch Shema.
נותן התורה.
Amen.
Yikada, Vikada, Shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Yamadi Brachi Rute, Yamlech Mahute. Viet Ramam, Viet Nase, Viet Adar, Viet Ale, Viet Ala, Shemei Kudusha, Leila Mikol Vechata Veshihi Rahata, Tush Vechata Lenechemata, Damira Mioma, Bimero. We are continuing on the Maftir, which is page 998, verse 20.
Ta'amod chesora bat zebud vasha, maftir hazak.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamorah. Baruch Adonai Hamorah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamorah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Natan HaTorah.
Amen. Ad Asher Aniach Adon. Yeah, okay. Before. Ad Asher Aniach Adonai La'acharechem Kachem Vayershu Gamhem Et Ha'aretz Asher Adonai Elohechem Noten Lachem Ba'avar HaYarden Veshavtem Bish Lerushato Asher Natati Lachem V'et HaYeshua Hatziviti Ba'et Hahi Lemor Ein Einecha Harot Et Kol Asher Asa Adonai Elohechem Lishnei Hamalachim Ha'ele Ki Ya'aseh Adonai Lechol Hamalachot Asher Atah Over Shamam Lo Tira'um Ki Adonai Elohechem Hu Hanilcham Lachem
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
I can wear glasses or I can wear a mask, but not both. Mishparak for those who are here today, Torah people and everyone at home. Rose. Mishaberak Abatinu Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Hu Yivarek Et Kol Ele She'elu Likavod HaMakom Likvod HaTorah Likvod HaShabbat V'et Kol Ele Sheniknesu Litfilah Vizkar Zeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu ישמריכם ויצילכם ממכל צרה וצוחה ומכל נגע ומחלה וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשי ידיהם עם כל ישראל אחיכם ונאמר אמן.
May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless all those who ascended the bema to honor the place of God's presence, to honor the Torah and to honor the Shabbat, and all those who enter the synagogue for prayer. For this, may the Holy One guard them and save them from all trouble or distress, afflictions, and illness. May God send blessing and success in all work of their hands. With all Israel, their brothers and sisters, and together we say,
Amen.
Amen. Jan?
Oh, I have stuff to do yet?
You still have more stuff to do.
All rise for the lifting and wrapping of the Torah. Ya'amod Shlomo Yaakov and Tzvi B'Tzipora Magbiha Ta'amod Miriam Abigail Bat Yitzchak Umalcha Hagolelet.
שלושה דברים בעולם, שלושה דברים, שלושה דברים, שלושה דברים העולם seated. We turn now to our Haftarah.
It's 1002.
1002. And I have no doubt that Idel has infused what our tradition does with the day before the Shabbos, before Tisha B'Av. Am I saying it? Am I giving you a bad
No,
picture?
Kenner has a different tradition. You read the entire Haftorah, right?
I do, but what I was going to say is that infused in the Haftarah on the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av is the cantillation that is specific to the commemoration of the destruction of the temple, which is something called Eicha, or Lamentations. So, however Idel leaves that in, or she'll tell
my
us.
tradition is that of the Luach. But the afternoon of Tisha B'Av, the entire Haftarah is read. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher bachar b'dvim tovim v'ratza v'divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo ובנביאי האמת והצדק. רחצו חיזקו הסירו רוע מעל עליכם מנגד עיניי חידלו הרע לימדו היטב דרשו משפט אשרו חמוץ שבטו יתום וריבו אלמנה לפונה ונבחך יאמר אדוני אם יהיו חטאיכם כשנים כשלג ילבינו אם ידימו חתולה כצמר יהיו אם תבוא שמעתם טוב הארץ תאכלו ואם תאמנו מריתם חרב תוכלו כי פי אדוני דיבר. איכה הייתה לזונה קריה נאמנה, מלאתי משפט צדק ילין בה. אתה מרצחים כספך היה לשיגים, סבך מהו במים, שורייך סוררים, וחברי גנבים, כולו אוהב שוחד, ורודף שלמונים. יתום לא ישפטו, וריב אלמנה לא יבוא עליהם. לכן נאום האדון, אדוני צבאות אוויר ישראל. אוי אנחם מצרי, ואנקמה מאויבי, ואשיבה ידי עלייך, ואצרוף קבור סיגייך, ואסירה קום בדילייך, ואשיבה שופטייך כבראשונה, ויועצייך כבתחילה. אחרי כן יקרא לך עיר הצדק, קריה נאמנה, ציון במשפט תיפדה, ושביה בצדקה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ויוסע, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך אחור לא ישוב ריקם. כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון כי בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח ציון בבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו, באליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך. במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסאו לא ישב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו. כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן דוד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמלוכה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. ברוך תהיה.
We'll turn now to page 332 as we recite together in both Hebrew and English the prayer for Israel. Middle of 332. Adonai Eloheinu, Tzur Yisrael be'ga'alo, Borech Medinat Yisrael, ve'agen alecha, We ask your blessings, O God, for the state of Israel, for the land of Israel, and for all people of Israel. Bless those who defend the land and protect its people. Bless its leaders with wisdom, courage, and dedication. May they be resolute in the face of challenge and unwavering in the pursuit of justice and peace. May Israel be a beacon of hope, a source of inspiration to all who are free. Fulfill in our day the ancient promise, Zion b'mishpat tipadeh, v'shaveha b'tzedakah. Zion shall be redeemed through justice, and its inhabitants through righteousness. Amen. We continue with returning the Torah to the Aron Kodesh, the bottom of page 340. Just making. Yehalalu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, ado aleret v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tehila lechol chasidam, limnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. 342. Mizmor David, Avol Adonai Menelim, Avol Adonai Kavos, Avol Adonai Kevod Shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai behadra kodesh, Kol Adonai alamayim el hakavod hirim, Adonai amayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behatar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaper Adonai et arsei halchanon, Vayarkiden kemo egel, Levano v'sirion, kemo v'nremim, Kol Adonai chotzev lahavot esh, Kol Adonai yachil mibar, Yachil Adonai mibar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel al yalot, Vayachasof yarod, Uvhechalo kulo, Omer kavod, Adonai Amahuya, Shamayach Shem Adonai, Melech Leolam, Adonai Os, Me'avon Yitei, Adonai Yevarech Le'amo Shalom. Et Chaim li, Let's turn to page 363, for the middle paragraph in English, as we recall, Retzevim Nuchatenu, accept our rest and purify our hearts. Let's read together in the English. Our God and God of our ancestors, may our Shabbat rest be acceptable to you. May your mitzvot lead us to holiness, and may we be among those who devote themselves to your Torah. May we find contentment in your blessings and joy in your sustaining power. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth, and help us to enjoy in love and favor the heritage of your holy Shabbat. May your people Israel, who sanctify your name, find true rest on this day. Praised are you, Adonai, who sanctifies the Shabbat. Yismecho v'machotecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismecho v'machotecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Mekadeshei, mekadeshei shevi Shabbat, kolam yismehu veyitanegu mituvecha. Yismechu v'machotecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'machotecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. V'hashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashahu Shabbat. Chemdat yamim oto karat Shabbat. Yismechu v'machotecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Yismechu v'machotecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei onei Shabbat. Zecher lemase v'reshit Shabbat. Zecher lemase v'reshit Shabbat. Continue on page 400, Ein Keloheinu. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. Mi Keloheinu, mi Kadonenu, mi Kemalkeinu, mi Kemoshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. No del Eloheinu, no del Adonenu, no del Emalkeinu, no del Moshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonai, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. Atahu Shektinu, Avotenu, Lefanecha Ketoret Hasamim, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Turn to the next page, Aleinu 402. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekdu l'otzeh breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'goralenu k'chol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, u'mishachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malkei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu notei shamayim meyaseh haaretz, u'moshe It's our custom you may be seated. We continue 404. Okay, המלכות שלה היא עול מעט שמוך בכבוד, כך כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני Shemo, Echad, Shemo. We take this moment now to reflect and remember our loved ones. During this past week, we remember Louis R. Levinson, Lillian Sadler, Marvin Alexander, Dorothy Singer, Hope Slensky, Gerald Finkelstein, Abraham Al Klein, Michael Levin, Abraham Polis, David Maimon Weiss, Harold Young, Frank Boschwitz, Samuel Brownstein, Fred Dreyfus, Jane Fine, Jerome Drobin, and Erwin Sirota. And during this period of Shloshim, we note with sorrow the passing of Beth Bondo Rosenthal, our dear Lynn Liss, Moish Pashko, and our dear Melissa Levy. And in the year of mourning, we take pause now to remember David Metz, Eva Maria Alcantarada, Janice Lane Kind, Stanley Rath, our beloved Anna and Druzier, Arthur Schlesinger, Alan Leboff, Candace Rosen, Jonathan Israel, Sylvia Gingold, Rochelle Oknes, Stephen Weiner, Carolyn Lipschultz, Ira Hirsch, Sherry Cass Roth, Marilyn Rosenblatt, Ronnie Schlesinger, Edith Kaufman, Rosalie Tankel, our dear sweet Paul, Cantor Paul Freimark, Marvin Levy, Bernard Siegel, Edith Schulman, Gessie Chudnoff, Lou Chaifetz, and Benjamin Hoffman. Are there any names here who were not called that we'd like to recall? All those who are reciting Mourner's Kaddish, please rise at your place. We turn to page 410 for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitzkadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabbah v'yamad yivarach yortei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei techol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya v'yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'it hadar, v'it ale, v'it halal, shemei l'kudusha v'richu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'yalma v'yimru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, Amen. Oseh shalom v'yimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. May each of their memories be for a cherished blessing. So my friends, I think of course, God forbid, I will turn the reins over to our illustrious service announcement person, Eileen Shine. Please.
Thank you, Cantor. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, everyone. On behalf of the officers and the board of directors come these wishes for a good Shabbat, and a good week to come. I want to say that our services have been beautified and enhanced. Where are they? By Ariel and Haley, and I look forward to seeing them each week. They just add so much to our services, and I look forward to the time when she'll run the whole service. Really, she's just wonderful. On a more somber note, tonight at Bethel Yardley, Tisha B'Av will be observed either virtually or in person. There is a mincha service, an afternoon meal. It starts everything starts at 6:40, Talmudic study, and then Ma'ariv service, and our own Idel Wood will take one of the parts that our beloved Cantor Paul used to do, so it should be a very meaningful service at Bethel in Yardley on Stony Hill Road or virtually. And all of this information you can find in the Shabbatogram that is sent out to you. Yes? Oh, and Fran as well. Okay, we look forward to that. And then Sunday morning minyan at 8:30, and always our evening minyan during the week at 7 o'clock. Wednesday, our walking club starts up again. Before I forget, Rabbi, welcome back to you from Israel. That was going to be my first comments, but sorry, the beauty of the girls and how they enhanced the service. Sorry, that just took precedence, but really, welcome back. It reminded me because Barbara Glickman is also back and from Israel, and she runs the walking club at 9:30, weather permitting. So you can find information out about that. And if you happen to be at the shore, there is sometimes a devotion by the ocean. Again, on the Shabbatogram, there's a link to click on to see whether or not anyone is holding services there. On Friday, August 19th, we will have services outdoors. Friday night, backyard Shabbat here at Ohev Shalom. And then to round out the month of August 31st, Wednesday, we will have an open house, especially for the Hebrew School and Tichon get-together. So if you know of anyone who's interested in joining OHEV, or they have children who are looking for Hebrew school, then Wednesday, August 31st is the time and the place to be. And just one other thing, our Social Action Committee has done a wonderful job. And one of the events that's happening is called Stuff the Bus. All kids need new school supplies, right, to start off the year. It makes such a difference if you can go in with a brand new book bag, right, and supplies, markers, and everything. So tomorrow is the last day for this particular round. You can drop these supplies off here at the OHEV loading dock between 12 and 3. And with that, I wish all of you again Shabbat Shalom, Good Shabbos to all of you.
I want to I don't know if you did it already, Eileen, so I'll do it again. If not, I want to officially welcome back our Rabbi Perlstein from Israel. We're very happy to have you back, and especially for that third Aliyah. Thank you very much. Yasher Koach. And I want to extend an additional Yasher Koachachem to all of our Torah readers and Haftorah reader, as well as sending your beautiful Devar Torah. Thank you so much for enlightening us and sharing some really interesting details with the Gematria. It's really special. And then, of course, to Ariel and to Haley for being wonderful parts of our service. And they are going to come back over here and help us conclude today's prayer service with Adon Olam. Yes, of course. Okay, guys ready? Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol du-du-du-du, Yitzir Nirach, Ding Dong Le'nasa, L'chesed kol, Azar L'Hashemah Nikra, Adon Olam, V'yacharei Kichlon HaKol, Le'avato Yimloch Nora, Adon Olam, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hoveh, V'hu Yeh B'tereko, Yitzini Ra, Ding Dong, Le'ed Nasa, V'chepsoko, Ezan Elech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'hu Echad, V'ein Sheni, Le'achshilo Le'achbira Adon Olam, Beli Reishi, Beli Tachli, Belo Ha'oz V'hamisa Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'tereko, Yitzini Ra, Ding Dong, Le'ed Nasa, V'chepsoko, Ezan Elech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'hu Eli, V'chai Goali, V'tzor Chavli, V'et Sara Adon Olam, V'hu Nisi, Umanosli, Menach Kosi B'yom Ekra Adon Olam, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'tereko, Yitzini Ra, Ding Dong, Le'ed Nasa, V'chepsoko, Ezan Elech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam. So we continue, we rise, Yasher Koach, ladies, with Vishamru. Okay. Perfect. We had it last week. That was for two. All right. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat lasot et haShabbat ledorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat lasot et haShabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat lasot et haShabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'yeh haaretz veshamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat lasot et haShabbat ledorotam berit olam. Yom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinapash, Shabbat vayinapash, Shabbat vayinapash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat lasot et haShabbat ledorotam berit olam. Al Kein Berach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat v'Yikadshehu Savrei Chaverai. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Borei Peri HaKafen. L'chaim. Shabbat